Hello and welcome. Today we are talking all about souls. And do all things have souls? My name is Jody Lynn Craven, founder of Abundance Consciousness, and this is my dear friend Heather Marie, founder of Soulgate.
Hi, welcome to Channel Squared, where we connect with you, the divine, and then channel here with you live.
Yeah. Okay. Souls. Are they in all things? Do all things have a soul?
I mean, I think that's a really good question. So maybe not. In kind of like my intuitive Heather feeling, this isn't like channeled, this is just me, but I feel like plants and animals, yes, of course. But I feel like things that are non-living maybe have more of like a vibration as opposed to a soul.
Okay. Yeah, I disagree.
Of course you do. What do you think?
I disagree with an asterisk, because I always think about things and I don't know, reevaluate what I think to be true. And so the first question that I guess I ask myself in this context is, what is a soul? What does it mean? I know we just had a whole episode about soul's purpose and all of that, but like, what does that mean? And I think for me, when I think about, so that was one question that came up. And two is that I truly believe that we're all fractals of source here to have an experience. So, and everything is vibration, even though we look different than a plant. Maybe we have more things going on. We still have frequency, vibration within us. That's what we're made up of. All of our cells are vibrating. So even though these inanimate objects like this rock, which is really crystal, I call them rocks, my pet rock collection behind me, even though they're inanimate objects, I agree that they have an energy or a vibrational signature to them. And further to that, I think that we're all fractals of source. So I think that things like this could perhaps have a soul.
So I have a question.
Sure.
If we are going with your idea, with all things having a soul,
yeah,
this is something of the earth. And so is it a living thing? Because it's of the earth. And so it's could be alive. Whereas,
well, isn't it alive?
I mean, maybe. But does my lipstick have a soul? Like, do you have a soul? What color is that? God, my eyes are so bad. Soar. Do you soar have a soul? I think it's a valid question.
Perhaps, what is the chemical components of said lipstick? There's metal, it looks like there, which is from the earth. There is plastic, which is a derivative of oil, which is from the earth. And then I have no idea what makes up lipstick.
Well, it's the minerals, right? The colors are earth component of mineral, right? Colorants.
Yeah.
The thing is that when you look at this as a man-made item and you look at this as a earth created item, is one more apt to have a soul than the other? And I can get behind the idea that this lipstick may have a soul just the same as this crystal.
Perhaps. I don't know. Now I'm thinking about it because there is one that's man-made and one that is source made, but even that is illusionary, because man made, if we're all fractals of source, then that too is created by source.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. And it's funny we're talking about this, because I saw TikTok just yesterday that said you can ask objects what they think of you. And it is the idea of doing this is whatever information you receive, you're able to see where you're limited in your own thinking, or your belief systems. Like, ask your car what it thinks of you.
Well, it's interesting, because there was a time when, in business, I was working with a teacher, and she had said that, my business was feeling like I wasn't communicating with it anymore. It was feeling sad. And I thought,
as if it had a soul.
Right. And so I said, well, what do I do to communicate with my business? And she says, well, you need to just talk to it. Hey, business, I'm sorry that you're feeling this way. What can I do to make you feel joyful and happy and better?
Yeah.
Almost as if it had its own soul, right? And business is something that I created. I am the business's creator, right?
Yeah.
So is it a piece of my own soul in the business? Or does the business, in fact, get its own soul when it's created? And are all things created? Are they created and given a soul? So when we started talking about this, this is getting complicated. When we were talking about this, and we, had a difference of opinion about, does it have just a vibration, or does it have a soul? And we were kind of on opposite sides of our viewpoint of it. I'm leaning more towards maybe it is a soul, but whose soul is it? Is it the same energy that created our soul? Or if it's something that we've created, is it part of our soul? Are we in essence the creator of that created item's soul?
What if it's, rather than we created its soul, it is also a fractal of us? Like, we are a fractal of source. Like, what if it's just a tinier fractal of the original, which is source, through your soul to it? And if there's multiple people that worked on a project, it would be the combination or the compilation of many souls.
Right. Well, and so when you look at something that's been created by a group, it carries their energy in the creation, right? Mm-hmm. So, I forget the type of car it was. I should have written it down. I was thinking about it earlier, but there was a car brand, and this car brand could not get off the ground. It just couldn't get off the ground. And I believe that the reason that it couldn't get off the ground wasn't because it was a crappy car, because it wasn't a crappy car. It's actually a pretty nice car. And it was a very affordable car. And it wasn't crappily constructed or anything like that. It just couldn't take hold. And so this car brand that couldn't take hold, the only real answer that I could come to is, why didn't this car get off the ground? Was because of its creators. The energy, when you looked at the car, was nah, I don't know. Why would I get that car when I can get this other car? I'd rather pay more for this other car than get that car for whatever reason. And it had there was no specific reason to why that would not be a good car brand, because the car was constructed well. The engineering was good. The design and the way that it looked was nice. Had an amazing warranty that came with it, but it was still meh. And maybe it's because its creators were meh about it.
Yeah. Well, this conversation is so interesting of all of these things, because when you really start thinking about things like cars, that jogged in my memory, places I've been, completely man-made, created places, like a building. I mean, there's natural elements within it. But I mean, the building that I'm in right now is full of tin. It's tin roof, tin walls, very industrial. And I understand, or I have been witness to being in different places, around different structures, if you will, and feeling something completely different, a different type of energy. And it was, if you will, inanimate objects.
And the thing is that, is it vibration or is it soul? So, and that's a question. Maybe we can channel on it today and we can ask, is it vibration or is it soul? But the thing is if I've always believed that things like furniture, they carry energy, right? There is a certain amount of energy that object has. So for example, when I was departing from my relationship before I met my husband, there was a lot of energy that I could feel coming from specific pieces of furniture. And I left them behind. And I left them behind because I didn't want to bring that energy into my new life. And so when we were shopping for houses, you walk into the house and you could feel the energy of the house. Now, maybe it was, energy left behind from the previous owners or the previous family that lived there. But there were instances when we'd walk into a house and I was like, nope.
Just can't do it.
Yeah. Can't do it. Right. Now, the house that we purchased, the original owner, this is a brand new house, and we bought it. We're the second owners of this house. The original owner only lived in this house for 9 months before she died.
Yeah.
And in hearing that, I was like, oh God, I'm going to have to deal with a dead person in my new house, And when I came in, what was interesting is I couldn't feel her. I could feel a family member of hers.
Really?
Yeah. And that presence was coming from a bed in one of the bedrooms. And so when the bed left, the energy left with it. Now, does the bed have a soul? Or is it an energetic vibration that got stuck on the furniture?
Now I don't know. I'm not sure. And I guess another question that I have is soul synonymous with consciousness? Or are they two separate things?
Great question.
Yeah. And then I would, so if there's soul, there's consciousness, and then there is vibration. So with the lipstick, does it just have a vibration? Does it have vibration and consciousness? And does it have vibration, consciousness, and a soul? So I think the first question we should ask is, what is a soul? Let's do some channeling.
Okay.
I feel like these are really simple questions, and yet I don't really have an answer because I've never asked those questions.
Yeah, totally.
All right.
Okay. So, all right. So the first thing that I'm picking up about inanimate objects having souls and about plants and animals, because I asked the question, do plants, animals, and inanimate objects have souls? And what I get is yes, in like an abstract sort of way. So what they're saying is that plants and animals are given souls similar to what we have in human form. And this is part of the soul's experience to not have control over their life. So they are subject to everything around them more so than humans, an incarnate human soul. They're talking about inanimate objects being a fusion of like life force energy and creator spark. So they're showing almost like a molecule in the way of like source energy, and then a molecule in the way of like life force, like human life force. And so they're showing like these two molecules coming together, and this creates the soul for the inanimate object. This is a way for like source creator to understand what it's like to be a lipstick and be rubbed on the lips. But also a way for this like fragment, this like soul fragment, to evolve into something else, because everything is like a source of creation. All things are created. Now, those that are watching this that are all about like the hologram of Earth, right? The matrix code that we are living in. I think that this could be kind of like polarizing, because, you know, if you're in that thought or belief system that this is all just a hologram and it's all just a computer simulation, which we've talked about on our show before, it being a hologram and a computer simulation. How does that, I think we should ask, how does that relate to souls?
And before you ask that, sorry to interrupt you, I feel the opposite, because I think it is a simulation. And the more that I understand about like decoding, we'll use those flashy words, decoding the world or the reality around me, I realize that it's a program from within that is exhibited without on the outside screen. So I think it makes even more sense. Of course, this lipstick has that divine spark because I'm the one that created it. I'm the one that's creating the hologram or the simulation. And so if it's all a program, it's a program that came from me, which is source. So it's just me in a different form. And that's exactly what you just said about God, you know, wanted to create the lipstick to experience the lipstick. Well, it's a fractal, if you will, of source creation, just like we are. It's just a different type. Looks different.
Exactly. I think that that's very well put.
Okay. So what was your question that you wanted to ask, though, about the hologram and it relating to that? Or did I answer that question already?
You answered that question.
Okay.
Yeah, you answered that question. There's no more question.
There's no
question complete. Check.
Okay, great. So this also opens up a huge can of worms. And maybe not worms, maybe beautiful butterflies, whatever you will, about being connected to everything, like literally everything. I am a connection to this. I should probably stop like losing these things, or like, you know, just chucking them in the bottom of my purse and not caring about them. I wouldn't do that to my poor little puppy dog. Why would I do that to this?
Mm-hmm. You know, it's funny. Once upon a time, I had I'm going to call her a daughter. Okay. I still look at her like a daughter today. We are still very, very connected. And so, you know, she was going through her stuffed animal collection that she had in her room. And, you know, she was, you know, a teenager, and she was starting to become, you know, more independent and wanted to have like boys over and stuff like this. And she couldn't have all these stuffed animals in her room because they were her little girl toys. And so she decided that, you know, she needed to clean out her room and remove some of these little girl toys. And it was the most adorable thing I'd ever seen. She was putting these stuffed animals into garbage bags, and we were going to put them in the attic. And she was poking holes in the bags. And I'm like, what are you doing? And she says, well, I want to make sure they can breathe. Aww. And it was so cute. I was like, here was a, 16-year-old young woman who was making sure that her stuffed animals were going to be, and she was really sad that she was having to put them in plastic bags, and she wanted to make sure they could breathe and that they were going to be okay. Aww. And it makes me wonder, was she so enlightened to the fact that there is a soul inside of that teddy bear? Maybe.
Probably. Children are way more in touch than we are as adults.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whew. Okay. So you heard it here. Everything's got a soul.
So be nice to all your things.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've talked about a lot of times understanding your own energy versus someone else's, mine, not mine. This takes it to a whole new depth of, when you put your feet on the ground, on the soil, why you feel so connected. Like every little grain of sand or soil or whatever, every single grain of that has a soul, is connected to the one creator, infinite creator. So, I mean, no wonder it's a beautiful thing to walk on grass or whatever with your bare feet, being outside. We were talking about that, I think, on our last episode, going to watch my parents' horses, being with those animals, being at that place, was really, nurturing for me, just that energy. But it's not just the animals, it's all of the things that make up that space.
Yeah. And I know that this is a very abstract conversation, and, but I think it's a good conversation to have so that you can start looking at things in a different light. What if the whole key to money, this paper currency that we all are so in love with, right? What if the key to money is like nurturing the money that you have? Like if you loved and nurtured and talked to your money, would its buddies show up at your house to get some love and nurturing?
No, they'd all run away. This is something that I talk about in my coaching practice, in the course that I have, is your relationship with money and how you're treating it. For me, I used to treat it like an ugly stepchild. Don't look at it. Be afraid when you look at it. Avoid it at all cost. That's what I did to my bank account and the said money within it. I would hoard it. I would hold it. I would be like, it was like, not Cinderella, but taking one of the ugly stepsisters and putting them in the attic, being like, you stay here. You can't, you're too valuable of a resource for me to ever use you. And then, they pick the lock and run away. Who wants to live like that? Of course. All of the objects that we have in our life, I've always talked to my car, and I've never thought of it as in this context of a soul, but I've always talked to my car like, you're really awesome. I really love you. I love the way that you operate. I love that, even though you got 200,000 kilometers, you're still trucking. You're still doing great. You still look sexy. Sometimes I go outside and I look at my car and the rain has fallen or the snow has fallen or whatever. And I'm like, wow, you're just so beautiful. Tell her that all the time.
I was the only one that did that.
No. Because I want that feeling to be in my car. I want that to resonate when I get in there. And I do appreciate my car. And
what's interesting is and I'm sure that there are people listening right now that can relate to this, but doesn't your car run better after you've given it a bath? Like when you take it and you have it cleaned and you get in it and you're like driving around, it's got a little more pep in its step. It's like, woohoo, I'm so beautiful, right? Like, I know I have experienced that with my vehicles. I would get my car washed every single week because I loved how fun it was to drive. And I think that it was just because it was happy because it was getting loved and cleaned and beautified.
Yeah. One of the things that's coming through right now is this phrase, mind the attention you're paying. Mind the attention you're paying. And it really all comes back to that. Like whether it's money, like what kind of attention are you giving this thing in your life? The car, the lipstick, the, whatever it may be. Maybe it's your face creams that you use in the morning. For me, that's like gold. I'm like, ooh, I'm super sexy. You're going to make me super young looking, and I treat it very, very well. Like I use a little scooper thing and I clean the scooper thing and I make sure my hands are clean. And there's certain things that I do that with, but I can see it throughout my whole expansive life. I don't treat everything with that same level of care or, whatever. So mind the attention you're paying, because is it a good attention? Like the bath you gave your car that gave her the pep in her step, or
I just had this major epiphany.
Tell me.
Like when you're talking about your skincare, like I think anybody who follows the show knows that I used to have a beauty business. Yes. And I am expert level at making people look 10 to 15 years younger than their chronological age. Like everyone in my practice looks this, but every once in a while I would come across a client that I just couldn't get past a certain level. I'd maybe get 5 years off their chronological age, but I couldn't get beyond that. And it didn't, they lived a healthy lifestyle. They ate well. There was always these, they were doing all the right things to look young, but they just didn't look young. In fact, they maybe came to me looking 10 to 15 years older than their chronological age. And I was able to back them up 5 years, but they still looked 5 to 10 years older. And I could never figure it out. And I just had this epiphany that these are the same people that were like, it's too many steps, Heather. I don't want to do all those steps. Like, can't you just give me a cream and make it all go away? Well, no, because one builds on the next.
Yeah.
And skincare is cumulative. You have to do multiple things. And what you do at home works better and is more important than what I do for you in treatment. And these are the ones that wouldn't do the home care. They'd come in and see me every single week if it meant they didn't have to do home care, right? They just didn't want to do the home care. They didn't want to be bothered with it.
Yeah.
Where I look very, very young for my age. And I look very young for my age because I cherish the home care.
You cherish the things you're doing. Yeah.
Exactly. It's ritualistic for me.
Yeah.
When I channel, I have rituals that I perform in advance of me channeling. Mm-hmm. And I do not channel unless I do my rituals because it's important to me. It brings in what I need. It's an energy transfer and exchange that creates this big, beautiful, lovely ball of energy that I can tap into and source, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing in that skincare, right? I put the things on my skin and I'm like, oh, that feels so nice. Gosh, I love this product. What's the ingredients in this product? Oh, this is amazing. Isn't it fantastic what science has done for aging? Like, whoa, give me more of that.
The attention that you're paying is from a positive, uplifting, exciting, appreciative space.
Yeah.
And I think that's magical. And I think that when we pay mind in this, we pay mind in this way, when we're paying attention to what we're thinking and feeling and the energy that we're putting into some of these things that seem meaningless. And I'm going to back this word up, but we treat, a lot of times in our society, we treat things as transactions, meaningless things. And now, knowing what we know, that we've just channeled, that there is a soul inside of everything, and that we are creating the hologram that we're looking at. Imagine the ripple effect that can occur when you start treating these inanimate objects that you thought were seemingly, unimportant or didn't matter. What if you started paying attention to them with love, infusing them with love? How different not only they would feel, but the ripple effect that would then occur to all of the things. Like if you're looking at your desk, all of the things that sit here, and how different it would feel for you to be present with those items.
Yeah, let's use an Airbnb as an example. I think most people at this point have stayed in an Airbnb. Yeah. Now, an Airbnb is, for those of you who haven't, is basically rented private property. So somebody owns the house or the condo or the whatever, right? And you are renting it from this owner for a vacation. Now, when you go into the Airbnb, you instantly get a feeling, and it's either a welcoming feeling, it's a yucky feeling, it's a this place is amazing feeling. Maybe it's just, wow, I feel like I could live here, right? It evokes an emotion. Even though you've already seen all the pictures online, you've already read all about it, you've had all this time to psych yourself up for this amazing experience you're going to have, right? And you could very well walk in there and be like, oh, wah, wah, wah. Yeah. I hate this place. Why am I here? Right? Yeah. Or you could walk into it and be like, oh my God, it's even better than I imagined. Yeah. And what is the difference? Because nobody actually lives there. No one actually lives there. And transients come in and out of there all the time. So what makes that place so special?
It's you.
It's you.
Did we just crack the secret code of how we transmute everything in our reality to more desirable things?
Maybe we did.
I think so. I think so.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, I feel like that was a mic drop moment.
Totally. And, if you're listening to this and you have thoughts or opinions, just, put them in the chat. We'll chat it up with you there. But, I think that what if it's all just you? What if you are infusing soul into everything that you interact with? And everything that's being reflected back to you is simply just another soul of you reflecting back to your soul. And so you either identify it, love it, or go, I don't know about that. And you should revisit it and see where that leads you.
Beautiful. Well, we are out of time for this week. If you've liked this conversation, make sure you hit that like button and that you are subscribed so you never miss an episode. We will be back next week. We're kind of extending the conversation, and we're going to dive into how we're connected to things like plants, and why that matters, just like the inanimate conversation or inanimate object conversation we've been having today. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next week.
Bye.